Hello everyone and welcome to Rob's Rogues in the Batman universe, and today we're taking a look at Robin, Tim Drake from the new Batman Adventures. This is a continuation of Batman the Animated Series, and for this what I would consider the fourth season. I know they kind of broke up some of the episodes in different weird seasons, but as far as the DVDs go that you can buy, this is volume 4, and again, as I would feel, the fourth and final season of the Batman Animated Series cartoon show. So these are going to be all brand new sculpted figures and redesigns of the characters, and some of the ones that we've seen previously, I will do a comparison of their animated series counterpart. Before we get into Robin here, I wanted to kind of go through where the animated series started making its change. In the last official Batman animated series cartoon was the cartoon movie Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. And like I said, this was the last thing chronologically that came out with the old animated series look. This is a really nice Mr. Freeze story, and has Robin and Batgirl and Bruce Wayne in it as I have things fall. So we go from this, and then the animated series takes a little bit of a break. And the next thing that we get into was the New Adventures, or the Superman animated series, where they redesigned Superman and kind of, not redesigned him, but changed their animation style. And when they got to this Batman and Superman movie, they realized, well, we're going to have to redesign Batman as well, and the Joker, for this movie. And once they did the character redesigns, they thought, this is going to be a good place to redesign the animated series for one final time, and this movie came out in 1997. So this was the first appearance of Batman with his new design, which is not that much different. It's more sleeker and more streamlined and not as busy detail oriented. So they went from that straight into the New Adventures of Batman, and the new Batman Adventures. I keep saying that wrong. So it does have the banner on the DVD, Batman the Animated Series, but as far as the cartoons were concerned, it was the new Batman Adventures. Sometimes it was referred to Gotham Knights, and then you had the Batman Superman Hour, where you had a half-hour animated series of Batman, followed by the Superman animated series, or vice versa, depending on how that went. So you can kind of see some of the character designs. There's the Joker and Batman. You have Robin and a Poison Ivy villain, and then there is Batgirl. So this was really nice, and truth be told, this is my favorite version of the animated series. I know some people may go, oh, the classic is so cool. I love the classic, but I think I had watched the classic so much that for whatever reason, when this started showing on TV, I wasn't watching it. I don't know if during the break from the animated series, it's not like everybody had the internet available to them back in 1998, that I just didn't really realize that there was going to be new animated series. So once I started seeing a whole bunch of reruns and I wasn't seeing anything new, I kind of stopped tuning in to watch it. Then later on in 2002, I had seen some of these animated series redesigns, and I thought, what was this? And a friend of mine says, well, that's the animated series. They just redesigned it. So I wasn't even really aware the cartoons were going on. I saw some figures in the store, but I really didn't realize what those were. And some of the figures I passed on because I was really heavily into buying a lot of Star Wars stuff at the time. So my Star Wars collection just exploded, and I kind of took a sabbatical from buying Batman and Robin action figures. So that's a little brief history, and that will also explain why you see some figures and why you don't from this animated series line. And if I could go back in time, I would correct and buy more from this line. Robin is the only figure that I bought from the new Batman Adventures resculpted line, as far as being in his original box, and all my other figures that you will see here come from different 2-packs or from a China seller, or they were from the Justice League Unlimited line, and I'll get into that. So I don't have the standard Batman from this line, the Nightwing, the Riddler, the Joker. I do have some of those figures, but you'll see as we go through this portion that I just really dropped the ball on these figures. So I thought it was fitting, since being a Robin fan, we did start the whole animated series of reviews with Batman. He's actually going to close out the action figure portion of this. I do have a couple Batman that you will see here from this line. So I thought, well, the next best place to start is Robin, and since he is the only really official New Adventures of Batman figure that I bought, what better place to start than obviously with my favorite character, Tim Drake, Robin. He's kind of an amalgamation of Jason Todd and Tim Drake. At first, he was a little bit more Jason Todd in attitude. Comes from like a broken home, and his dad was a mob guy that owed money to Two-Face. And Two-Face is the one that set up his dad and all that type of stuff. But then they kind of got away with that, and we got a little bit more of an accurate Tim Drake portrayal. I could figure what that word was. And I want to say that the animated series was actually the first place where you see this color scheme for Robin. I'm not sure if the comics coincided. In the comics, he had this color scheme because of the death of Superboy, so he wanted to use Superboy's predominant colors. So in the comics, they said that's why he chose this look. But I think the look actually first debuted on the new Batman Adventures. So somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is where we first see this look for Tim Drake. Again, I could be completely wrong, but I think that is the case. A really nice figure. I like this Robin a lot. I did buy him on the store shelves because I've obviously liked the Robin character, and I thought, well, it's a different portrayal. I'll put him with my animated series figures, knowing that it was from an animated cartoon, and I assumed it was Batman the Animated Series, but it didn't say that, so shame on me for not knowing at the time. I've never been a fan of this teeny tiny little Red Riding Hood cape. I know he's a kid and have that, oh, kid, he's going to have a small cape. I mean, Robin should have a much longer cape than that. I mean, in the comics, he didn't have this really tiny cape. It does keep him balanced pretty well. And this is kind of one of the first times that we see the plastic capes and the toy companies getting away from the cloth capes, with the exception of one or two in this line. But the other thing that's kind of different about this whole line also is that Kenner teamed up with Hasbro, or Hasbro bought Kenner. I'm not exactly sure why or how. I've tried to do some research on it, but I've not been able to find an accurate answer. So Kenner had the licensing, but either at the beginning or partway through this line, Hasbro's name started jumping on the package with Kenner. And you no longer see, if I can find it here, you do not see the Kenner name anymore on these figures. It's always a DC Comics or Made in China, and this is, DC Comics 1998. So Kenner's name is no longer on the product. I don't know if it was just for licensing that they had it, and Hasbro started making some of these, or later in the line, but most of all the packaging will say Kenner and Hasbro, and then after a while the Kenner name would disappear, then you'd see Hasbro, and then you would see the Hasbro name, and then the Kenner name would appear. It's really kind of confusing, and like I said, that's about the most intelligent answer I can find. So having him stand with my Batman, which I obviously having him stand with the other Batman, I like the look of the cloth cape, and I didn't like the plastic cape. Robin comes with a little accessory, which I'll show here in just a second, but I usually take this cape off and put it in a little parts box. And for my Batman and Robin movie set, one of the generic Robins that I bought came with this little smaller cape for that figure, but this works really well with this Robin. And I think that looks a million times better, that it's a cloth cape, and it's actually in proportion to him. I have thought about getting some yellow fabric and sewing some yellow into this, or I'm going to sew. Have my wife sew some yellow fabric into this, and I think it looks so much better with him standing next to Batman having the cloth cape. So on my shelf, I never have him wearing this, as he can now sit in the Batmobile and Batplanes and his own little vehicle so much better and not be with this teeny tiny little Red Riding Hood cape. So I'll move Batman off to the side and I'll show you the other accessory. And this is from the Crime Solvers line is what they were calling it, and it was the very first line. So it was the new Batman Adventures, like Crime Solver Batman, Crime Solver Nightwing, Crime Solver Robin, and they came with a vehicle or some type of accessory and little gimmick. So it comes with a like Robin bird, if you can see the bird-ish type of face on this thing. So these figures were a little bit more expensive than some of the animated series, but you're now talking almost 6-7 years later that the animated series was making figures. So, you know, economy was changing and things like that. So he rides so much better on this thing with the cloth cape. I don't get why they got rid of the cloth capes for these figures. It's only like Batman and Robin had them, so it's not like they had to do a whole lot of extra mileage. I don't know if cloth is more expensive. I think cloth would be less than plastic, or maybe plastic would be less. Who knows? But it was always kind of hard to get this little tab in here, as you probably really can't see it on camera because my fingers are in the way, but I think you get the idea. And I can't even get it in the little tab. Okay, you get the idea. This goes around Robin, and I'm going to be a jerk and try and get this on film, and you guys are like, Rob, we get it, we understand, you are just going to pull him right off, but it's the principle of the idea. Okay, I'm giving up, but it does work. But do I have him with this on my shelf? No, it's taking up too much room, but when I display my Batmobiles and other vehicles from this line, I have this right next to it, and it's got a little turret type of thing that he could turn and shoot. Of course, the seat belt, which I can't get in, but now that Robin's not in the vehicle, it goes in just fine. And this little wing type thing. But what was the gimmick for the Crime Squad, the figures in this line didn't have a gimmick that their arms spun or they jumped up and down. Underneath whatever accessory they came with was this little mirror type thing, that you had half of a little panel and a mirror, so you could hold the back of your box art, and there was this little pixelated image here that would show you the rest of this image. You can faintly see there's Nightwing and Batman, and the other side of the package would have Batgirl and Robin, so you could hold your box art up to it, and it would repixelate this image. You kind of see Batgirl here, and Robin would be on his package in this side. It was really kind of hard to do, but that was their gimmick, that you could solve a puzzle with this mirror. So everything was written backwards, and because it's a mirror, you'd be able to read it forwards and all that kind of wonderful jazz. So that is the little gimmick that Robin came with. I like this figure a lot. As you could tell, he's a tiny figure, and I thought this would also be a good opportunity to bring up my other favorite Robins from this line now that we've seen every Robin that I own. Of course, we have the original Robin, Dick Grayson, who's ironically in the original Tim Drake outfit. But as you could tell, the cloth cape looks so much better on this Robin. We have the Ninja Robin. Kind of get them there. And the Dick Grayson Robin. Of course, there's the Bolo Trap Robin and Crime Squad Robin. I'm not bringing all those up. These are just what I would call the standard Robins. You could kind of argue with this one that he's not really the standard figure, but his color scheme is pretty much the same. So for argument's sake, we'll take out Ninja Robin, which is the Robin of these three that I like the most. We could argue and say that the Dick Grayson Secret Identity really isn't Robin. He's more of a Secret Identity character, so we could take him out. And I'm really torn between these two. I like them both. To me, they're both Tim Drake. They're in the same color scheme. There's just something cool, and if I can use the word cute for an action figure, I like this. I like his characterization. He was spunky, and this Robin becomes Nightwing, so some people may call this sacrilege for the animated series, but I actually prefer the little tiny Robin. I don't know what it is about this figure, but this is my favorite Robin for the animated series. And when you see this Batcave, when we finally get into that, I usually put this in the wardrobe and kind of quasi think it's the Jason Todd outfit, or Batman decided to leave Dick's original Robin costume in the wardrobe. And when I pose my action figures up for the animated series, I always have this Robin because I want to have Nightwing, so I don't have the original animated series at the same time. I know that's a long explanation for why I like this figure so much, but that's kind of where I'm at. So this video went on a little long. It's for the new Batman adventure, so I thought we'd give a little bit of history here and actually look at probably my favorite figure from all of these figures. And being a Robin, I think you'll probably understand why, but there's other figures coming, so you may be asking yourself, well, Rob, if you don't have any actual new Batman adventures, the new Batman Adventures figures, what are we going to be looking at? They are still new Batman Adventures figures, but they kind of come from some different waves and lines, and you will see as we go through this. So we've got about another 12 figures left to go, so we're not quite done yet, folks. So as always, we've been taking a look, we've taken a look at Robin, Crime Solver Robin from the new Batman Adventures from Kenner and Hasbro. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the Batman Universe signing off saying we will see you guys next time.